computer, get into Canvas. And just to review from the home page, you can either click on today's activities or on the left-hand side, click on modules. So everybody needs to be doing this right now on the computer. So you can either scroll down and click on today's activities or module. And I click on the arrows so that all the other modules of previous weeks are closed. And I am going to go down to today's date. And to refresh. Where's my?
You got King Von as your profile picture. Is that King Von?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Is that fire? That's King Von. Sorry, I was just distracted by the profile picture.
All right, just give me a minute to get the attendance up. Over here. I thought I had it, but I guess I didn't. Morning, Amaya. Right, if you'll refresh your modules page, you should now see a bell ringer 126. So you're going to click on it, and let me do it. Hopefully there's a submit assignment. There we go, submit assignment button. And all I want you to do is I want you to think about the term matter, maybe what matter is, and tell me 3 things that you know about matter. So if you want to shout some out, I'll write some out on the board that you can pick from. What do you know about matter?
I don't remember. I knew stuff last week, now I don't.
Ricky, you know?
Everything is made of matter.
Everything's made of matter.
Are we made of matter?
Yep.
Yes.
Good job. You're smart, I'm not. What's the day, the 26th?
I want to be.
Huh?
I want to be
You want to be what?
smart. I want to be.
You are?
He
Yeah.
is smart, and he wants to be, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Anything else about matter? We know the smallest type of matter.
Atoms.
There you
You not? You're making me look bad. Everything is made of matter. Oh my God.
All right, what else about matter?
About that.
Anybody know the official definition?
Yes. Let's do that.
Okay, what does it say?
One second. Unless he knows it, he can say it.
I don't.
Okay. Oh, now I'm just, okay, hold on. Oh. It says, matter is everything around you. Atoms and compounds are all made of very different parts of matter. Anyway, it's defined as anything that has mass and takes up space.
All right, it's gotta have mass,
It has volume. That's what it says.
has mass, takes up space is volume.
Yeah. All right, that's what we do right now.
Yeah. You could list specific types of matter if you wanted to. But three things, so we're typing, or what I wrote on the board was everything's made of matter, atom is the smallest form, has mass and takes up space. So in the text entry box, that's what you're gonna put. And if you have three things that deal with matter, you're gonna get, 3 extra credit points. So when you're done, make sure you click submit. So we're starting the next unit, which is going to deal with matter, and it's leading us up to our study of the periodic table. So after you submit that, you can go back. And before I get into this, I want to kind of go over something. If you click on the grades button here, now this is test student. Test student doesn't do a lot. And notice here that test student has all these things missing. There's a little dash here because I'm not putting automatic zeros in for test student because it's not a real person. You may have zeros in some of these if they're missing. Okay, and some that are missing may just have a dash, and I haven't gone in and actually marked it missing yet. Because things like the video and our notes and things like that, because I'm embedding all that stuff into one place, it doesn't automatically sometimes put it as missing. But if there's a dash here, that means there is no grade and it has not been submitted. I try to keep up and keep it saying missing. I don't a lot of times put it on the test student. If you submit something, in here, and I think I've clicked to reset, so everything went away. For example, for the attendance, if I had submitted something for today, it would have had a T like this. That lets you know that it has been submitted. Some of these may show up a paper, looks like a little paper icon that shows it's been submitted. So this is where you can find out if you have anything that has not been turned in. It should have this big oval that says missing, and it probably will have a 0 here. This tells you how many points it is worth. If it has a 0, that means it's an extra credit activity, and whatever points here will be just extra points that is added to your total points. So if you need to know what's missing, this is where you go. But the issue is, with Canvas, you can't just click over here and get back to that assignment. So what you need to note is the date. So January 7th, right here. So I go back to modules, and I know January 7th was probably week 1 because look at my dates right here. I can click here, and I see that the introduction is here. The introduction actually may be locked because I started locking some things early, and then I moved it. Most things you have until February 12th to get them submitted. And then they are locked and you cannot go in and submit them anymore. But use the date to try to find where it is. Now, if the date was the 8th, but it's not here on the 8th, it may have been something we worked on the day before, and it's just due. It was due on the 8th. So grades is where you find what is missing. For me, every point counts. All these simple, small assignments, you want to make sure, especially the videos, you get in, because the more points you have, the better. So you have until February 12th to get anything that is missing, and I can print out this page for you at some point if you'd rather have a hard copy to look at. But this is how you see your grades. On Fridays, I sync these grades to PowerSchool. So on Fridays, when you guys are working at home, that's when I finish up, try to get the grading done for the week and sync up and update PowerSchool. So the accurate grade, more than likely is going to be here. If I haven't graded something, like I said, there should be some little icon instead of this little dash. Like a T or a page, looks like a piece of paper. So I wanted to go over that. So we're going to start matter. So we've got a short set of notes. And yesterday we reviewed and tested on our first unit, sort of intro to physical science. So there may be some time at the end that, if you haven't taken that test, you can, take that. So we're gonna look here at classifying matter notes. If you're at home, you click on this and you're gonna type in your notes, down in the CamiDoc. If you are here, I've given you a hard copy, so you can write it on the paper or you can put it here. If you don't want to get confused, if you're doing it on paper and here, you can click submit so that it just will put the missing there and get you confused. It'll just submit blank, but I'll grade from the paper. So
I'm gonna
you
put this in
decide.
my binder, even though I'm not gonna do it, cause I wanna do it on my computer.
Yeah, you can put it in your phone.
Cause I get confused, so.
Yeah, if you want to keep it in there, you can. I just like to give those that are here an option for, to have paper if you would like to.
Alright.
So if you keep up with me, you can, and you're here, you can just use the PowerPoint that I'm gonna present up here. If you're at home, you're gonna probably have to, move back and forth like this. I didn't modify this PowerPoint, so we're gonna skip through the first little slides here. This was something I tried at one time with students or still vocabulary. All right, so we're gonna be looking at matter, and we've already said in our bell ringer that matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. So we've got that sort of definition. And so mass we kind of equate to weight. There's actually two ways to classify matter. Matter is either going to be a substance or a mixture. And when we talk about substance, we're meaning a pure substance. There's nothing else with it, it's that substance. So we've got two classifications here.
Is there nothing
Substance,
to write down?
huh?
Cause I don't see anything on the computer.
Is there not a note underneath? There should be a Cami
I don't
underneath.
All of that's the boxes. Yes, this is right there.
Oh. I didn't, only seen the notes though, I didn't see anything.
Scroll down.
There's a Cami document.
Oh, okay,
underneath.
I'm sorry, it wouldn't load, so I didn't know. Thank you.
So matter is going to be either a substance or a mixture. So a substance is all the particles that's in matter. So pure substance would be like water. Water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, but they're in a fixed composition because it's a compound. So all the particles are identical. If I had a bottle of water, that's a pure substance. But if I go and I add a Kool-Aid packet to that water, I then have a mixture. It's no longer a pure substance. So a mixture is two or more substances that are physically combined. Notice the word physically. If they were chemically combined, then it would be another type of pure substance. But because I physically combined them together, I stirred it, I shook the bottle to mix it up. If I let the water evaporate, I would get a film of that, what was that powder left. So I could easily separate those. So that is a mixture. So with substances, we kind of have two types. We have elements and we have compounds. Elements and compounds. So an element is kind of our simplest form of matter, and it has and they're listed on the periodic table, and I'll be giving you a periodic table to keep in your binder if you're here, and I'll put a link to one in Canvas. And here's our periodic table. Everything listed on here is an element. And you're gonna have to be able to look at that, use the periodic table, know how to find information. And all the atoms in that element are identical. They are made up of the same element. So when I'm talking about helium, I'm talking about multiple helium atoms, and that is the element helium. Now look at kind of at these diagrams here, and I have an arrow on your note sheet that kind of draws up there. Elements can be monatomic, that means one. So single, circle, same color. So this would be like helium, argon, neon. These are stable because they are individual atoms. They exist as individual atoms. Other elements like oxygen can exist by themselves. They have to be in a compound, or they can be bonded to themselves, and we call that diatomic, di meaning two. And so if you see two of the same colors, we call this, it's still classified as an element because it's all the same what? Atom. They just cannot exist in, they're not stable by themselves. So two atoms of the same thing bonded together is diatomic and can be classified as just an element. Now it's hard to see on a photocopied set of notes the different colors, but the shading should be about the same and they should be about the same size. So elements can be classified like this. Now, compound is the other type, and these have to be chemically combined. So these are different atoms that are chemically combined, two or more elements that are combined, they're in a fixed proportion. So some examples would be water, salt, sugar. They have properties that are different from the elements that make them up. So you can have, water is made up of two gases, hydrogen and oxygen. But when they are bound together with two hydrogens and one oxygen, we can have liquid water. We can have water in the form of a vapor, which is a gas. And we can have solid water, which is ice. Salt. Salt is made up of sodium and chlorine. Sodium is a metal. It's over here, Na. It is very reactive, not stable. It's a soft metal. You have chlorine, which is a poisonous gas. But when they are bound together, NaCl, we get our table salt that we use to season food. Sugar. C6H12O6 is the formula for glucose, which is a type of sugar. Again, it's made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but when they bind together in these specific proportions, you get a certain substance. And that is a compound. It has new properties and everything. Now, if we look at the molecules or look at it based on like atoms, so an element is just one substance. It's the simplest form. So it can be oxygen. Oxygen can't exist by itself, so it's going to be bonded to itself, O2. Or a compound, look at this. Notice that there are two different colors. Two or more elements chemically combined. Carbon dioxide, you have two oxygens and one carbon in that diagram. So if you're looking at it at the molecular side down to the atoms, that's what we're seeing there. These pictures are going to come in handy later. Now, if we look at mixtures, we have two types. We have homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous, homo means same. These prefixes are very important. So the components in this type of mixture are equally distributed. So when we look at lemonade, we don't necessarily see all the individual substances that make that up. It's blended together evenly throughout. When you look at just blood, you don't see all the individual substances. Coffee, you don't see the cream or the sugar that's in there once you've mixed it up. Bleach is made up of a couple different substances. You don't see those individual substances. These are considered solutions, and this is when we have one substance dissolved in another. It appears blended, it appears like it is one thing, but it's actually a mixture. So here are some examples. Heterogeneous. Hetero means different. So you can usually see the substances. They're not evenly spread out. Sometimes, like with paint, you would say, well, wait a minute, that looks the same throughout. But remember, if you let paint sit, you're going to have to shake it up or stir it because the particles start settling out. So if it does some settling out over time, separating out, or you can see the individual parts, then it is heterogeneous. So salad dressing, paint, cereal, peanut butter is even heterogeneous. If you get natural peanut butter, a lot of the oil will be at the top in it, and you have to mix it up before
Yeah,
you
that
use it.
happens a lot. I've noticed that.
And two, it probably, and different brands do more of that than the various different brands. Some will do that easier than others. It just depends on what else they've mixed in with the peanut butter. So mixtures, if you notice here, if you have the same, so this is almost the same number here. So if we have the same number of particles, it's evenly spread out, then this is going to be homogeneous. So that's an example of that. If we have, like salt water, heterogeneous, it's going to be uneven, and you're going to see the different particles. So if you look here, the purple ones, we have about 4 or 5 of those. There's only 2 of the cream ones, 2 of the green and blue, 2 here. So it's not necessarily the same. So that's how you're going to distinguish between those. So that would be like salad dressing with all the different seasonings. Now, in the space,
Yeah, it ends right there.
yeah, I guess I forgot. In the space down here, I want you to put at least the definition of colloid. So type out the definition of colloid or write it if you're on this paper. Here's your paper.
Does it matter what side? Just like thing,
Yes.
just like right here.
Yeah, right in the bottom where it says summary, and we're not going to do a summary. Not sure why that's not there, but okay. There may have been one more page and I didn't get it, but usually, let me see if there's any more after this.
Hey, which one?
Yeah, there's a couple more. All right, so just in the area down here, you're just going to write colloid, small particles that remain dispersed throughout a mixture. And you need the examples. The examples will come in handy. These fog, milk, Air that may have some particles, like dusty air that has particles that you can see. Sometimes when sunlight's shining through the window, you can see particles that are floating through. That's an example of colloid. You have these particles that are dispersed, and you may not see those particles, so it may appear, milk, we would probably want to say it's homogeneous, but light can't go through it. So if light can't pass through it, it's going to be a colloid. So in that empty space, you want the definition of colloid. You want the examples, and then I'm gonna have one more term on the next slide that I want you to
Resubmit this.
put in. Hold on, there's one more term I want you to type that's not on there. Um, All right, and then I guess in that space, put suspension. And here, you're just going to put the particles settle out over time. Suspension, particles settle out over time. Put up the wrong worksheet. Suspension, particles settle out over time. And then there'll be one more. So for heterogeneous, there are two types. There we have colloid and suspension. And you don't have to do the whole thing, you can just do.
I accidentally wrote the whole name.
That's fine.
But, oh, well, I just put the examples.
Okay. You good, Ricky? And then the last one, Tyndall effect, you may see that term. It is just the scattering of light. So when light hits those particles that are in colloids and suspensions, they kind of reflect, they bounce back. So it's scattering of light. Oops, it's the Tyndall effect. So then you can submit that if you did it on the computer. If you did it on the paper, then I'll take that up to grade. And just completing it is 20 points. So again, just to review, always go to modules. So if you're at home, make sure you click on modules. We're in week 4. We find today's date, which is Tuesday. We've completed the bell ringer already. We've completed the notes. Here is a video that we're going to do in just a minute, but I want to talk about this sheet right here first. And so I gave you a paper copy if you were here, if you're in here. On one side, you see this chart here, and I wanted to explain this chart. So in the rectangular boxes, you will be putting terms. In the non-rectangular boxes, you are putting connecting phrases. All right, so connecting phrase. So matter, notice there's an oval to get to mixtures. What connecting phrase could we put from matter to mixtures? Mixture is what of matter? What did we have in our notes? We said matter is either a substance or a mixture, so is it a type?
Sure.
Is mixture a type of
Substance
matter?
matter, yeah.
So connecting phrases, so you could put matter, it could be can be mixtures. So in here, you could, in your text box, click here, and you can write can be mixtures. Well, matter can also be, what will we put here? We can put can be again here, and then what are you gonna put here? What's the other?
I don't remember.
Well, that was why I have this. So we said mixtures, matter is either a mixture or a
Substance,
substance. So this would be
substance.
substance here, and you can put can be here. So these rounded ones are connecting phrases. These rectangular are terms. Then you have a list of examples. Then on the other side, I want to get through all the instructions, and then I can come around and help people individually. On this side, you're going to classify as substance or mixture. So you may have to look at the definition of substance and mixture again. Remember, a mixture is not in fixed proportions. Usually you can see the different parts unless it's homogeneous. Here, is it an element or a compound? Can it be found on the periodic table? Or is it more than one of those combined together? That's a compound. These homogeneous, HO, or heterogeneous, HE. So if it is homogeneous, it looks the same throughout. If it's heterogeneous, you see the different parts. Then you put all of that together. So element, compound, homogeneous, or heterogeneous. And then the pictures here. So which one represents just an element? Just a compound? You've got letters here. A mixture of elements, that means different elements. A mixture of compounds, different compounds, or a mixture of elements and compounds. You may or may not use them all. You may use one more than once. When you complete that, you need to complete or click on submit. All right, so if you were not here yesterday, you have a couple options. You can work on this the rest of class, but you also have a test. So you've got to decide which one you're going to finish up at home tonight and which one you're going to complete here. There is also a video, so you may want to watch the video first before you do anything else. So if you go back to modules, and under Tuesday, when it says Ed Puzzle, that's a video. So these two things, or take the test if you were not here yesterday and did not take the test. Amaya, do you have any questions since you're online?